We got Tim Green in the room, amazing jazz musician and composer, educator. We got Marvin Thompson, producer, trombonist, band leader, entrepreneur, real estate guru in the making. This is all and
history right here.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in high school.
Let me ask Tim, because I don't like when people say that, but let me ask Tim, because you said it about him. Do you like people putting you in that category?
What's that?
Because you know what I would call you?
What's that?
I would say Tim Green, awesome musician.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say Tim Green, great jazz musician. Because the boy can play everything.
I concur.
You know, when God give a gift, he don't give a half gift. If he give you the gift of music, you got the full gift of music.
Hey, look,
He don't give you the gift of jazz music.
I totally agree. We also got Jim Pagan in the room. Jim Pagan is.
Oh, I know I was being taped. I wouldn't have said that if I was being taped.
That red light is on.
I wouldn't have said that.
Jim Pagan is my mentor. I've known him for over 20 years. I don't know if he's going to jump on camera or not.
He's my mentor too.
But
That makes him my mentor.
Jim is an amazing.
I do want to say this on record.
I'm going to pull this.
Jim Pagan changed my concept of money.
Let's talk about that.
The way I thought about money. Jim Pagan, he changed the way I thought about money. I will say that on record.
Yeah.
People need to know that.
Being on stage with these legends, dude, I'm hitting the corner.
So let's continue the conversation that Jay was talking about. Jay was hitting on some really good points about Stephen Ford and the relationships there that opened up and parlayed into other opportunities. You want to keep talking about that?
Well, one good turn deserves another, and a lot of people ask me, how did you get to a particular point? And whatever I'm doing at the time, I just understand that it is my performance this time that will predicate what I'm going to be available for or sought after the next time. And I learned a lot of that from Marvin, all down to presentation, communication, networking with people, and just always being 100, even if I'm just playing at church, because you never know. But even if nobody's there, do it for yourself, and sharpen your swords. So when you are at doing something that's a little higher profile, what's natural is going to just ooze out because you've been doing it. And it was at Bethel Temple that we were getting sharp. Little Man was back then, and Lil Ralph and Vincent, and where there was a regular Sunday, you just would have thought we were on network television, because we put that attention to detail. And so by the time it's time to go to Philly and make them trips, at the Ford Memorial, we were already sharp.
Oh yeah, and you couldn't come there, and not be sharp.
Right.
You only could bring one game there, and that's your A game.
Yeah, indeed.
Because that was Stevie Ford's house. So you weren't going to go to Stevie Ford's house, because he already made sure that the cats in the rhythm section with him were blazers. So we was coming from Baltimore, so to get that respect, we had to make sure. But when I met Jay, a lot of people I met that were younger than me, Jay Dill, Tim Green, Keon Harold, Dante Winslow, the list goes on and on. These cats made me better. Period. I have to say it. Even though I might have been the oldest, these cats was killing on their instruments. They still talk about Jay today as being, if not one of the best bass synth players on this planet. They call him God on the bass synth. That's what they call him.
I can attest to that.
But it's so much more to him than just playing the bass synth. And when he came on the scene, he was an MD, and he wasn't even an MD on our shows. When we went to London, we was working for Allen Records. I remember them days because we was working for a major corporation, and I shouldn't say this. And at the time, we ain't had no money until we actually got that check.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, you know, a lot of cats we met and networked with. You know, but like I said, we kept getting better because we kept making each other better. You know, and I don't think we even knew that at the time because we were still dealing with, you know, what's my man that passed away? Benjamin Love.
Right.
Oh
right,
my
right,
God.
right.
He would turn rehearsals into worship services. It was like
Literally.
But we wasn't trying to. But he would just get on the organ or the keyboard or whatever. Man, we would go there. But it made us better. And you know.
And it was all, everything, like he's saying, was all inclusive of the network. It was more than just handing people your business card. They noticed how do you present yourself outside of those 2 hours that you played the gig. And, you know, Marvin taught us about having that regal quality about yourself. You know, taking care of your appearance with dress, ironing, something as simple as ironing your shirt, down to somebody is watching you all the time.
I got to talk.
So, you know.
I mean, I know y'all can't tell right now because of what I got on. That's not my fault. It's not my fault.
Hey, no call.
Confirmation.
No call out.
Yeah, confirmation.
No call out.
It's the inside thing.
Oh my God.
Confirmation.
But nah, Tim
I gotta
was
speak
wonderful
on it.
thing.
I
Tim
gotta
was
speak on it.
reacting. Tim was reacting to that comment. What you got? Tim?
Yeah, no, I got to speak on that. I know Chase, you know, talked a lot about Marvin, but I got to speak about Marvin a lot too because when I was at, you know, I went to conservatory and stuff like that, where you learn the technical side of playing. And then all of a sudden, I guess the word got out to Dante and some other big brothers in town. He's like, yo, Tim, you know, saxophone player, you should give him a call. So at that time, I never really knew what it took to make a living in music. So I started getting, you know, Marvin started calling me, and I was like, okay, let me go down here and actually see if I can, you know, use all the stuff that I learned in the conservatories and apply it to music. As soon as I went to like my first gig with Marvin, he's like, all right, man, you know, let me see, you know, see what you got. So all of a sudden, you know, Marvin's throwing all these lines. I'm like, oh man, I'm not ready for this stuff. And you know, at the same time, it was like, okay, now learning all the stuff in the conservatory, I was like, that's cool, but you need to learn how to actually put it into action. And I learned so much from Marvin from that, just learn how to put it into action. Okay, how do you actually play music? Because a lot of people, you know, think that music is what's on the page, but it's not a visual art, it's really an oral art. So it doesn't matter what it looks like on the page, it matters what it sounds like. So I learned a lot from Marvin about that, you know, coming on those gigs and just learning a lot about, like you said, the ironing thing. It's funny, man. Anytime we on the gig, no matter if he said, okay, we got to show up to the gig and it's, you know, it's white T-shirts. Go to Marvin's room, this guy got an iron a white T-shirt.
That's real.
With a bottle of Bath and Body Works spray. I'm like, man, it's a white T-shirt tonight, man. You show up in the lobby fresh. Jeans,
But
you know,
next thing you know, after the gig, they be like, yeah, we need you for such
we
and
need
such.
you for another one. The whole
And they
section.
might have liked the way you look. They don't know nothing about me. For real. I've been in LA. You know how many gigs I got just because they like the swag of it all?
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? A lot of cats can play.
Yeah.
And just, you know, and I'm the type, you know, I never have to kiss up to anybody, but I could find a piece of truth and spit it back at you like, oh, I like the way you handled that situation, sir. And it's just opened up the door, and I just seen people with, you know, just with integrity finesse a situation and like, this is the reality, you know. And when you get off stage, it could have been that had them call you back for something else. And that applies to any discipline. It's not just music, it's just understanding how business works and dealing with people.
Yeah, it's interesting. This kind of.
I wanted to add one thing real quick.
Oh yeah, I'm about to segue into that.
But on Marvin,
Yeah.
because I think these guys are bringing a lot of truth to what he does. And I remember the years we played together. The one thing that Marvin did that I think is really important, especially in the black church scene, he had the uncanny ability to take the politics out of what was going on in music ministries. And I have to say, hands down, I was like the musician that traveled professionally for other things besides music. So these guys were all full-time, making money full-time off music. I'm the guy that was making money off of my IT professional career. So I'm gone Monday through Friday. I land on Friday night, practice is done. So I'm getting a phone call like, hey Marvin, what did we go over, man? Look, half the stuff I'm gonna have, half the stuff I'm gonna get live on stage. And he's like, this is what you want to do. Here's the pocket. This is where I want you.
Wow.
Listen out for this. And you get up on stage and people thought, that I had been there all week with them. But, he was like, no politics, not dogging you out. I know you got a career. We love to play with you. And when other musicians would sometimes get out of sorts, nobody pushed back on Marvin. If Marvin said, that's enough, conversation was over. If Marvin said, look, I got his back, I can vouch for him, conversation was over. If Marvin said, look, my boy's ready, he's going to follow me, conversation's over. If musicians were going back and forth, on what to do as far as, a vamp or whatever, it's like he always had the final say, but he never used authority to do it. He just was so professional, so liked by everybody, so respected by everybody that when he spoke, it was almost like that E.F. Hutton thing. When he spoke, everybody listened, and I think to this day, that makes him very unique in the music world because he has that uncanny ability to command respect without ever having to forcefully do it. I just wanted to add that, man.
Oh man,
No,
respect.
that says a whole lot because I was going to segue to actually how I met Marvin, which was through you, Jim. We were at that commission. Was it the 20th anniversary or the
Commission reunion,
right? So I got some other stuff I can say about that. How Jim was like, yeah, man, you got tickets for the after party. I show up and my name wasn't on the list. But
I put your name on the list, man.
hey, it's all good, man.
It's the list taker, not me.
No, they didn't know who I was, but it's all good.
He put that on video.
He put that on video.
Underdog.
Right.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Well, we were all at Morgan State University, man. We were at the Murphy Fine Arts Auditorium, and I think that's where they had the concert when they came to Baltimore. I will say thank you because you did get me tickets to the concert, so thank you for that. I'm gonna clean it up, but I had to get you.
You're welcome.
They were box seats too. But anyway, so after the concert, Jim was like, "Yeah, man, I want to introduce you to Marvin." And I had seen Marvin, on video a couple of times, playing for the band. I was like, "Oh man, that'd be cool," because Mo Horns was amazing, and y'all just brought another level to the show. And so we get there, and I see Marvin. I didn't know him at the time, but he's looking. He's like, "Yeah, come on in." And so me and Jim get ready to walk, and then the door closes. It was like we shutting it down, and Marvin was like. But after that, we did some work with Marvin, and it's interesting. Jim calls me. I have to say, most of my career is due to Jim and Dr. White. But Jim would always call me while I'm asleep. He'd be like, "I need you to make a pitch, for some business." So he called me, he's like, "Yeah, I need you to come over here right now and meet Marvin and do this website, right?" And so I came, and man, I was looking pretty sloppy. And I remember I had on like some jeans and some kicks or something. And so I threw out a number, which was totally reasonable, and Marvin just would not look at me. Just give me no eye contact. So later on, after he verified the price with James, who knew what I was talking about, he was like, "Yeah, man." And the next time I saw him, I was dressed up because I was doing a photo shoot with y'all. And you looked at me, he's like, "Yeah, now you look like you're ready for some business."
Oh man.
I said, "Who's this dude?"
Oh man.
That's hilarious.
It was hilarious, but I mean, we friends now. But
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh man.
That's when he did the caricatures, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and
amazing.
that was an iconic sight. I remember when
yeah.
I was like, because I knew Brian from high school, and I knew Marvin from right out of high school. And when I was like, dang, how they meet each other? So
Right.
you're the guy.
yeah.
Okay, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Jim was the plexus because, I mean, we met, number one, we started working on a lot of those companies through Software Ministries. You want to talk about the history of that?
Yeah, well, Software Ministries was a company I started back in 1996.
97?
Yeah, and at the time, no one had a website. And I remember talking to Fred, and he had an issue because this dude, and this was common with a lot of the artists, they would get someone either out of their fan base or a friend of a family would say, hey, let me register your name, and they didn't know the game. So FredHammond.com was owned by someone other than Fred Hammond. So he was like, dude, I don't know what I'm going to do because this guy owns the domain and I don't know what all that means. And I said, well, look, Fred, just let me step through it. I said, we got to finesse this because there's no laws around taking someone's name and building an internet presence. I said, but, let's just use some scripture with this brother. And if he's a believer, we're going to definitely use the right scriptures just to move that. So he's like, let me know when that happens. And I was like, look, Fred, let me tell you, man, we're cool, but you should not put it under me. I said, give me your information. I'm going to put your domain under your name. And this was early in the game. So we got Fred Hammond set up, and we launched him. We worked with Donnie next and got him set up and running. Then we went to, you did the live.
Richard Smallwood.
Yes, Richard Smallwood.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did Richard Smallwood. We just went through the list. Helen Baylor, it was just a growing list.
Yep.
And Gospel Today magazine, I was almost about to launch there. To
Harmony
see
Records.
Harmony Records. And we were tapping into building out the website and the presence, but we had a bigger vision. We actually wanted to go into like that next generation entertainment, digital media, digital entertainment. Once again, we were really early in the inception, but I learned a lot about the business on the back end doing that part of it. And I think if I had known Marvin earlier, I probably would have still been in that business because his expertise and experience is what I was missing. I was pure corporate going into the music industry, which was not corporate. It was like a mom and pop meets corporate meets all sorts of different ecosystem and distribution, scenarios, and it was a definite who you know. So it was kind of hard to navigate that world. So after a while, I just got a little winded from it, and I talked to the guys and said, "Hey, man, I want to give back all these guys their websites and stuff, and I'm making more progress on this side of the business. Let me just focus on that going forward." But I think I really would have probably stuck with it and probably partnered with you had we met earlier, because what I've learned from you would have saved us a lot of headache going back and forth with the record companies and the different managers. I got to the point where I wouldn't talk to any artists. I only wanted to talk to the managers. So I had another team that talked to the artists because I was like, I just want to talk business. And I never forget, I had a meeting with Donnie McClurkin in Baltimore, and I was closing the deal on another side of the business. And my boy called and said, Donnie's in town, he got some time. I said, hey, dude, I can't make it that soon. I'm closing this deal. I need this money. So just tell Donnie I'll be over as soon as possible. So he's standing outside of the hotel, and I'm walking up, and I said, Donnie, man, apologize for being late. I just had another appointment. So he said, oh, you did? He said, how did that go? I said, it's good, man. We just inked the deal. He was like, good. You'll never get my business. And turned around and just walked away.
Oh my God.
Then he turned around after like 5 seconds because he let it last. He was like, no, I'm just kidding, man. I'm just kidding, man. Come on in, man. Come on in. Let's talk. And a lot of things that we did for Marvin on the caricature side, he had that vision as well, going into like the animation part of the business, which is really where we wanted to go. We saw, these artists as coming alive in animations, and we knew that the technology was early, and we could build out, that sort of vision. And I have to say, I learned a lot interacting with Donnie as well. He was a really astute business person. He really had good vision for his name, his brand, and just interacting with all of that around Software Ministries taught us a lot that I still carry to this day. I still think there's an open market to bring that type of entertainment, to the masses, more so now than ever because the technology is so much more affordable than it was 20 years ago.